Change begins with vulnerability, a word that's often misunderstood. In a society that glorifies strength and self-sufficiency, vulnerability is frequently seen as a weakness, something to be avoided at all costs. But let's challenge that notion for a moment. What if vulnerability is not about fragility, but about courage? What if it's not about breaking down, but about breaking open? Think about the moments in your life when you felt the most alive. Were they moments of certainty when everything was predictable and safe, or were they moments when you stepped into the unknown, heart pounding, unsure of what would happen next? Vulnerability is that space where fear and possibility collide, where growth and transformation begin. It's standing in front of someone you care about and saying, "I'm scared," or "I need help." It's daring to admit that you don't have all the answers. Vulnerability asks us to take off the masks we've been wearing, the ones that hide our fears, our insecurities, and our flaws. It requires us to stand in our truth, even when it feels uncomfortable or exposed. But why is this so important for change? Because without vulnerability, we stay stuck. We hold on to old patterns, old beliefs, and old versions of ourselves because they feel safe. Vulnerability is the key to stepping into the unknown. It allows us to take risks, to try, to fail, and to try again. It's the raw, messy, beautiful process of becoming. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you give yourself permission to be human. You stop pretending that everything is fine when it's not. You stop carrying the weight of perfectionism and start leaning into authenticity. Vulnerability isn't about exposing yourself to just anyone. It's about choosing to show up fully, even when there are no guarantees. It's about saying, "This is me, flaws and all," and finding strength in that honesty. And here's the paradox: the more we embrace vulnerability, the stronger we become. It builds resilience because it teaches us to face fear head on, to sit with discomfort rather than running from it. It deepens our connections because it allows others to see the real us, not the curated version we think they want to see. It opens doors to opportunities and relationships we might never have dreamed of if we had stayed hidden behind our walls. Vulnerability is a process, not a one-time act. It's something we have to practice, especially in a world that tells us to toughen up, to keep our emotions in check, to avoid showing weakness. But every time you choose vulnerability, you choose growth. Every time you lean into discomfort, you take a step closer to the person you're meant to be. Taking ownership is one of the most empowering and transformative steps in changing your life. It's about recognizing that while you can't control every aspect of what happens to you, you have complete control over how you respond. Ownership isn't about blame, it's about responsibility. It's about standing tall and saying, "This is my life and I am responsible for what I do with it." So often we fall into the trap of believing that our circumstances define us. We point to the past, to mistakes, to people who have wronged us, or to situations that were unfair, and we use them as reasons why we can't move forward. It's easy to think, if only things had been different, I'd be somewhere else right now. But here's the truth: those experiences may shape you, but they don't have to trap you. Ownership is about choosing not to let your circumstances hold you hostage. Taking ownership starts with acknowledging where you are without judgment. It's looking at your life and saying, "This is where I am right now, not where I want to be, not where I used to be, but right here." This act of self-awareness is powerful because it stops the cycle of denial and avoidance. It brings you face to face with your reality, which is the first step in changing it. Ownership also requires an honest evaluation of your role in your life's current state. That doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. It means understanding how your choices, actions, or inactions have contributed to where you are. It's uncomfortable, but it's liberating. When you take responsibility for your role, you also claim the power to change it. You stop waiting for someone else to rescue you, fix things, or make you happy. You realize that those things are within your control, and that's where true freedom lies. It's important to remember that ownership is not about perfection. You will make mistakes along the way. You'll stakes along the way. You'll stumble, fall, and sometimes feel like you're moving backward. Taking ownership means accepting those moments as part of the journey rather than using them as reasons to give up. It's about saying, I messed up, but I'm not going to let this define me. I'll learn, I'll adjust, and I'll keep going. Another key aspect of ownership is letting go of excuses. Excuses are seductive. They offer a sense of relief by shifting the blame elsewhere. But they also rob you of your agency. When you let go of excuses, you reclaim the narrative of your life. You stop being a passive participant and become an active creator. This doesn't mean you ignore challenges or pretend everything is easy. It means you approach those challenges with a mindset of, what can I do to move forward, even in the face of this? Ownership is also deeply tied to your mindset. It's about shifting from a victim mentality to one of empowerment. It's the difference between saying, why is this happening to me, and asking, what can I learn from this? It's recognizing that every situation, no matter how difficult, offers an opportunity for growth. When you take ownership, you start to see challenges as stepping stones rather than roadblocks. And perhaps one of the most powerful aspects of taking ownership is the way it transforms how you view your future. When you take responsibility for your life, you realize that you are not stuck in a predetermined path. You have the ability to make new choices, to create new habits, and to rewrite your story. Ownership turns your dreams into possibilities because it reminds you that you are the one steering the ship. Connection is the lifeblood of change. It's what sustains us in moments of doubt, inspires us to dream bigger, and reminds us that we're not alone. Yet, in a world that often glorifies individualism, the importance of meaningful relationships can sometimes get lost. The truth is, no lasting transformation happens in isolation. Connection is where we find the courage to start, the strength to persevere, and the perspective to grow. At its core, connection is about being seen and seeing others. It's about showing up authentically and creating a space where others feel safe to do the same. When we allow ourselves to truly connect, we break down the walls that keep us apart, the walls of judgment, fear, and insecurity. We create a bridge of understanding that fosters empathy and belonging. And in that space, we realize that we don't have to carry our burdens alone. Think about the people who have influenced your life the most. Were they the ones who told you what to do from a distance, or were they the ones who stood beside you, cheering you on, holding space for your struggles, and celebrating your victories? Connection isn't about fixing others or being fixed by them. It's about walking together through the messiness of life and growing because of it. Focusing on connection requires intentionality. In our busy lives, it's easy to let relationships slip to the background, to exchange meaningful conversations for surface-level exchanges, or to prioritize tasks over people. But connection doesn't happen by accident. It's built through consistent effort and presence. It's about putting down the phone, turning off distractions, and giving someone your full attention. It's about listening not to respond, but to understand. Connection also demands vulnerability. You can't build deep, authentic relationships if you're hiding behind a facade of perfection or pretending you don't need anyone. Connection flourishes when we're willing to share our struggles, admit our fears, and let others see the parts of us we're tempted to keep hidden. This kind of openness isn't easy, but it's what creates trust and intimacy. It's what makes relationships real. And let's not forget that connection goes beyond our inner circles. It's about engaging with the world around us, with the stranger who smiles at us in passing, with the colleague who's having a hard day, or with the community that shares our hopes and challenges. Each of these connections, no matter how small, contributes to the larger tapestry of our lives. They remind us that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. Connection is also reciprocal. It's not just about what we receive, but what we give. It's about being there for others, not because we expect something in return, but because we recognize the profound impact of showing up. A kind word, a listening ear, or a small gesture of support can change someone's day or even their life. And in giving, we find that we often receive far more than we could have anticipated. Finally, connection challenges us to grow. The people in our lives reflect back to us our strengths, our blind spots, and our potential. They challenge us to step outside of our comfort zones, to confront our fears, and to strive for more. They remind us of who we are when we forget, and they hold us accountable to the person we want to become. Connection isn't just about support, it's also about inspiration. It's about surrounding ourselves with people who lift us up, who push us to be better, and who believe in us even when we doubt ourselves. Resilience is the quiet, steadfast strength that carries us through life's storms. It's not about avoiding challenges or pretending everything is fine when it isn't. Instead, resilience is about facing difficulties head on, adapting and finding a way to keep moving forward, even when the path feels impossibly steep. At its heart, resilience is a practice. It's not something we're born with or without, but something we cultivate over time. It's built through our experiences, especially the hard ones. Every time we face a setback and choose to get back up, we strengthen our capacity to endure and thrive. Resilience isn't about never falling, it's about what we do after we fall. To practice resilience, we must first acknowledge our challenges without sugarcoating them or turning away. Avoidance might feel easier in the moment, but it keeps us stuck. Resilience starts with honesty, with looking at our situation and saying, this is hard and I don't have all the answers right now, but I'm willing to face it. It's about choosing courage over comfort and persistence over passivity. One of the most powerful tools for building resilience is shifting our mindset. How we interpret setbacks matters deeply. If we view failure as a personal flaw or a sign that we're not good enough, it's easy to lose hope. But if we can see failure as a natural part of growth, as evidence that we're trying, learning, and stretching ourselves, it becomes less of a dead end and more of a stepping stone. Resilient people don't see challenges as permanent or insurmountable. They see them as opportunities to grow stronger. Resilience also requires us to be adaptable. Life rarely goes according to plan, and clinging too tightly to one specific outcome can leave us feeling defeated when things don't work out. Practicing resilience means being open to change, to new possibilities, and to the idea that even when one door closes, another one might be waiting to open. It's about staying flexible and resourceful, finding new paths when the old ones are blocked. Another key component of resilience is self-compassion. Too often, when we face challenges, we become our harshest critics. We replay our mistakes, focus on our shortcomings, and convince ourselves that we should be stronger or better than we are. But resilience doesn't come from self-criticism, it comes from self-kindness. It's about acknowledging our humanity, recognizing that struggle is part of life, and treating ourselves with the same understanding and care we would offer a friend. Support systems also play a vital role in resilience. While resilience is an internal strength, it's one that's nurtured through connection. Leaning on others isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. Whether it's a trusted friend, a mentor, or a community, having people who believe in you and stand by your side can make all the difference. They remind us of our worth when we forget, help us see solutions we might have missed, and give us the strength to keep going when we feel like giving up. Resilience is also about persistence, the willingness to keep trying, even when progress feels slow or invisible. There will be days when you feel like you're not moving forward at all, when every step feels like a struggle. Resilience is the decision to keep showing up anyway, to trust that the effort you're putting in will eventually lead to change. It's about taking one more step, even when you don't know what the next step will be. Finally, resilience is rooted in hope. It's the belief that no matter how difficult things are right now, they won't always be this way. Hope doesn't ignore the reality of our struggles, it simply refuses to let those struggles define the future. It's about holding on to the possibility of better days even when they feel far away. Hope fuels resilience, giving us the strength to keep going, to keep believing and to keep believing, and to keep striving for a brighter tomorrow. Commitment to action is where transformation truly begins. It's the bridge between intention and reality, the moment when dreams and ideas stop being abstract concepts and start becoming tangible parts of your life. Without action, even the most inspiring plans remain just that, plans. Commitment is what separates those who wish for change from those who create it. To commit to action, you first have to move beyond the trap of overthinking. Many of us spend so much time analyzing, planning, and waiting for the perfect moment that we never actually begin. We tell ourselves we'll start tomorrow or next week or when the timing feels right. But the truth is, there's never a perfect time to act. Conditions will never be ideal, and the stars won't perfectly align. Commitment means deciding to start anyway, even when the path ahead feels uncertain or incomplete. Taking action doesn't mean you have to have it all figured out. Often, the biggest barrier to starting is the fear of not knowing exactly what to do. But the beauty of action is that it creates clarity. Each step you take reveals the next one, and progress becomes a guide in itself. You don't need to see the entire staircase to take the first step. You just need to trust that the act of moving forward will show you the way. Commitment also requires consistency. It's not about making a single bold move and then stopping. It's about showing up every day, even when the excitement fades, even when progress feels slow, and even when doubts creep in. Change is rarely linear. It's a series of ups and downs, small wins and setbacks. Commitment means staying the course, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. It's about choosing discipline over motivation, because motivation is fleeting, but discipline is what keeps you going. Another essential aspect of committing to action is breaking down your goals into manageable steps. Sometimes the sheer size of what we want to achieve can feel overwhelming, leaving us paralyzed. But big changes are built through small, consistent actions. Each day offers an opportunity to take a single step forward, no matter how small it may seem. Over time, those small steps compound into significant progress. Commitment also demands courage. Taking action often means stepping outside your comfort zone, risking failure, and confronting your fears. It's easy to stay in the safety of what's familiar even when it no longer serves you. But growth doesn't happen in comfort, it happens in the discomfort of trying something new, of putting yourself out there, and of taking risks. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward in spite of it. Accountability is another key component of committing to action. When you hold yourself accountable or involve others you're far more likely to follow through on your commitments. Accountability can come in many forms: sharing your goals with a trusted friend, tracking your progress, or creating deadlines for yourself. It's about creating a system that keeps you on track, even when your resolve wavers. Commitment to action also requires flexibility. Life is unpredictable, and things won't always go according to plan. Sometimes you'll need to adjust your approach, reevaluate your priorities, or pivot entirely. Flexibility doesn't mean giving up on your goals, it means being adaptable in how you pursue them. It's about staying focused on the end result while remaining open to different paths to get there. Finally, commitment to action is deeply tied to belief in yourself. It's about trusting that you're capable of doing hard things even when you feel unsure or inadequate. It's about silencing the inner critic that tells you you're not ready, not good enough, or not capable. Each action you take, no matter how small, reinforces your confidence and proves to yourself that you are capable of growth and change.